Hey everyone, and welcome to my studio. My name is Karen Margulis. I'm a pastel artist and I love to share what I'm learning and I want to pass it on to you. And in this video today, what I want to share with you is how to paint more efficiently so that you can paint more often. Do you ever feel like you just don't get the time to paint, and you know that you need to paint more often so that you can get better, but you just can't seem to find the time? Busy, we all have busy lives. And when I first started painting, I was working full-time and I had to find a way to get in that daily paintings practice so that I could improve. And so what I ended up doing is setting a timer for like 15 minutes, and I would go in, paint small, like 5x7, 6x8, set the timer. When the timer was up, I was done. Whether I was done or not, it didn't matter, because after a while I got more efficient. That's the way I like to call it. What I want to show you today is how I can paint a small painting in a more efficient way. So come on over to my easel and I'm going to paint a poppy for you today. I'm working on a 5x7 piece of UArt. No, this is Pastelmat sanded paper. And what I'm going to do first before I start is tone the paper. Because it's white, I want to give a little color to the background and get rid of that white. I'm going to take an extra step and take a piece of pipe insulation foam and rub this in. Now on Pastelmat, it really grabs the pastel and doesn't, you have to have quite a bit of pastel on before it starts spreading around, but that's good enough. It covers up all of that white and gives me something to work on. The next thing I'm going to do is do a very simple drawing of my big flower shapes. Now, one thing that when I paint flowers is I don't do very precise drawings. I basically do the overall shape. Now, with the idea being I don't want to color them in, I want to paint with shapes. So that's my initial design. The next step is I'm going to take my softer pastels, and I'm using a set of Terry Ludwig pastels. This is the Floral Landscape set that I actually curated myself, and it is available the last week of June 26th in 2019. We're not back in 1900. And so if you're watching this after the date, you can get this set on terryludwig.com. Now, I'm going to first establish the dark. I call this the dirt. This is the dark stuff that helps support the flower. And if I don't put it in the initial stages with pastel, it's best to work from dark to light. Then it's really hard to get that nice dark base underneath. So if you think about when you paint grasses or flowers or trees, if you establish the dirt underneath, you're going to have a stronger painting. So far I put 2 layers. I started with burgundy. I added a dark blue. Let's add another dark reddish violet. So I have 3 layers of dark. Now you might be saying, but Karen, that is green grass and flowers and stems, so why not put green? Well, I am going to put green. I'll put a layer of green in right now. And there you have the dirt. And this is going to help allow the flowers to feel grounded, to feel like they're not floating on top of the background. The next step that I'm going to take is I'm going to establish the flowers, and I'm going to start with the darkest color that I see in the flowers. And it's hard to see, they probably don't show up. I'm using the side of the square pastel and creating chunky marks, flower petal shapes. That's 1 layer. And then I'm going to, it's a red poppy, so I'm going to add another layer of red. This is a cooler brick red. But it's much more intense than the violet that I first put down. The next step is I'm going to make it have a feeling of warm sunlight. So I'm going to use a warmer, more intense red. So this is a red orange, and we're starting to feel like there's some sunlight on those poppy petals. And notice I'm still using the side of my pastel to create chunky petal-like marks. Now, I don't want to just color it in with the tip of the pastel. I'm using the side. Now I want to really give it a feeling of light, so instead of going lighter and using a pale red, which is something that we might think we should do, I'm actually using an even warmer orange, and that's going to give that feeling of sunlight on those poppies. Now I need to establish the centers of the poppies, that dark area. So I'm using the darkest pastel that I have in this set, and I'm making some dark marks to suggest the interior. And then if I look at it in my little reference photo, I see that inside the dark there's a little area of lighter value, so I'll just put that in right now. Now the flowers are established, I'm going to go ahead and finish the background. So I'm going to start again by reinforcing the dark area with a dark green, and then I have a row of greens over here in my box, and I'm going to use all of these greens to start to establish that green background. And I want it to feel like there's some light coming in over on the right and kind of filtering in and giving that sunlight feeling to the flowers. So basically I'm just going to take all of these green pastels using the side of the pastel and just gradually building up the layers of the green using big broad strokes. So I'm not painting stems, I'm not painting leaves, I'm not doing anything picky just yet. Now, one thing that I need to do before I go much further is to establish some of the pods, the seed pods. I love the seed pods in poppies. They're really interesting. So I'm going to put in some dark green marks and then add some light to the tops of those dark green marks. So basically just making simple shapes. And now I'm going to continue along with adding some of the green stuff. Now one thing that I'm going to start to do is use some of these greens to start to cover up some of the flowers that I've already established. The reason why I want to do this is because I don't want the flowers to feel like they're floating on the background. So if I go ahead and add some grasses and some green stuff on top of some of the flowers, it pushes them into the background. So I just made a little green mark right there to push that flower into the background. Just add a few. Now I'm getting a little bit more refined with my mark making. I'm going to add a little bit brighter light in the distance with a pale yellow. And then I've got a nice yellow green that will work nicely to add some spice, have that light filtering down into the background. Finally, I need to add stems to my flowers. So I'm going to use the tip of this pastel and draw some broken lines from the flowers. I don't want them to look like balloons, so I want to make sure that my lines are nice broken lines. So I'll press and release and press and release. Add a few more little dark marks just for a little variety. We can add some light to the edge of those stems, again using the edge of the pastel stick. So you can get a lot of different lines or marks with these square sticks. You don't have to have pastel pencils to get fine lines. The last thing I'm going to do is finish those centers. I want to refine them a little bit more. One thing I notice about them in the photo is some of those little dark marks have like little fuzzy hairy things. I don't know what the technical term for those are, so I'm going to put a few of those in. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little touch of a bright blue violet, because I know that the blue violet little marks just add a little bit of interest. I like to call them eye candy, and so they're just little bits and pieces of color that when we look at the painting we say, oh, that looks really nice. My eye really enjoys that. One more little refinement, a little bit brighter light on the poppy, and I'm going to call this little study done. So there you have it, a simple, efficiently painted study where I start with a background color, put in the darks, put in the shapes, and then gradually refine from big simple shapes down to as much detail as you want. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick little video demo, and if you did enjoy it, make sure you like it and give me some comments and subscribe to my channel. And I have lots more to share with you, but I really wanted to show you this really quick, efficient way to paint a pastel painting.